Hi everybody and welcome back to the Renaissance Builder. On today's subject, I'd like to talk about entry-level multimeters. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have to put a caveat at the beginning of this video. All the prices that I'm going to mention for said multimeters obviously are not going to be accurate when you're watching the video. So they are generalizations. Whether they go up or down is not in my control. That being said, I will give you the amounts that I approximately paid for them. So the subject of multimeters oftentimes gets very dirty very fast because everybody has their own opinion. I've already done a video covering that, so this video is specifically about entry-level multimeters. For all the new technicians coming into the various industries that need to measure electrical signals, this video is for you. So coming in at number 4, for an honorable mention, I want to bring up the Pocket Pro multimeter. Now this is a multimeter, but it connects to your cell phone or cellular pocket device. It does have most of all the functions that you would need for a entry-level multimeter, as well as a number of other functions that are more than entry-level. However, because this thing is a software-based tool, and because it is somewhat small and could be labeled as flimsy, I'm just bringing it in as an honorable mention. I think this is a great multimeter for somebody that likes trinkets, but not necessarily a multimeter that you want to stick in your bag and depend on for day-to-day as well as safety-related voltage measurements. So coming in at number 3 on my list would be the Fieldpiece HS33. I don't have one physically in my hand because, well, I pay for these things out of pocket and I'm not made of money. That being said, I have used quite a few Fieldpiece devices in the past. This is one of the original modular systems. It consists of a millivolt device as well as a current clamp, and I have had quite a few other the manometer attachment as well as the infrared attachment and many other attachments that went along with it. Now the reason Fieldpiece is number 3 on my list primarily has to do with the build quality. Fieldpiece is a meter that definitely gets you in the ballpark of getting the job done safely and accurately, but it is not something that you're going to count on lasting you for more than 2 to 4 years. By that point, you're going to be looking at it going, I kind of want the Fluke. Just being honest. So, I do recommend the Fieldpiece HS33. It has all the readings that you would need as an entry-level service tech, and it comes in at roughly $180 on Amazon. So it's a good piece that will last you a few years and definitely get you started. And if you like the Fieldpiece environment, then you can stay within the Fieldpiece environment and buy more attachments and add-ons that go onto that same meter. So you can improve your repertoire of meters without having to dump a load of cash every time you want something new. That is a benefit. So that's number 3 on my list of entry-level multimeters, the Fieldpiece HS33. Now number 2 on my list of entry-level multimeters might actually surprise you. So I have right here next to me the Fluke 107 pocket multimeter. Now the reason this actually surprised me as well, a lot of people think in order to get into the Fluke world of multimeters you got to spend a ton of money. I can tell you that this multimeter was only 150 bucks. You can buy it from Lowe's. Now, that being said, it is the same build quality. I have the Fluke 101 multimeter here that I've been using for quite a few years now. It has the same quality that you expect from a Fluke device. Nothing has broken on the device. I've taken it apart and realized some of the extra things they do to it that you would not expect on a $100 multimeter. That's right, the Fluke 101 only cost me like $100. Now there's a limit to the 101 that the 107 makes up for. So for the extra $50, you get all the features that you need as an entry-level HVAC technician. For example, the reason in my tool bag I have this Fluke 101 multimeter and this Fieldpiece amp clamp, which I don't really trust that accurately, is because the 101 does not measure amps. That is its biggest drawback, is that the 101 doesn't measure amps. The 107 indeed does. So the features of the 107 include your voltage readings, both DC and AC, your resistances, your continuities, and your diode testing, as well as capacitor testing and amperage. Now, its one drawback is that it does not have the built-in amp clamp to it. In my case, I don't actually like the built-in amp clamp meters. So for me, I like this one because I don't feel like hauling around everything. You can get an attachment to read amps as a clamp style, or this will read amperage up to 10 amps and it's fused. You just have to put the meter in the circuit to read the amperage. Most of the things you're doing residential, except for the compressor, is under 10 amps. So most of the stuff you're doing residential, this would be fine for. You just have to realize that you put the meter in the circuit and that you got to be under 10 amps, or at least expect it under 10 amps. If you go over, you got to replace a fuse. Not really a big deal. So that is why this is second place in my list of entry-level multimeters. You definitely get the meter that will last you a lifetime in the Fluke 107. But it does have that drawback of having to open the circuit in order to test amperage, or get an adapter. So that takes it down a notch, in my opinion. For entry-level technicians, you're probably going to want the amp clamp option because you don't want to be opening a circuit if you don't have to. So that's why it comes in at number 2. Otherwise, this thing is a fantastic meter. And on top of that, wait till the end of the video and you'll realize why I'm not taking this out of the package to replace my 101 with it. Because I do like this better than the 101. And if I wasn't doing something special with it, I would totally be keeping it. So that brings me to the number 1 item on my list of entry-level multimeters. The number 1 item that I have discovered, and I feel like, it's my opinion, obviously, but the number 1 multimeter that I feel like is the best for an entry-level technician to be buying into is this here Milwaukee. This is the Milwaukee 2206-20. That model number you're not going to find in Home Depot or any other supply houses. I had to find it online, and there's a few different, including Amazon, which I will provide a link to. This meter comes in at around $200. And that's a little bit of a chunk of change to spend. But the meter comes with every function that you're going to want, and then some. So I personally am going to try this meter out and do a review on it for, a several months actually using it review. But this meter comes with everything that I actually want to put it in my bag. It has the built-in amperage reading, but aside from it's not a clamp, you'll notice it's not a clamp. The advantage to not being a clamp is I do not have to disturb the wires nearly as much to get that in there and actually read the amperage. It has all your standard measurements. It has your voltage, AC and DC. It has your amps, obviously, the built-in amp reading. It has your resistance. It has your continuity. It has your capacitor. This one also has microamps, so if you put the unit in the circuit, you can read microamps as well. That's pretty much every meter that reads amps. They also include a thermocouple option to read temperature in here. I personally have never used my meter to actually read temperature, but it's there. It comes with the sensor, so that's nice. It has a built-in work light for whatever that's worth, but the better part of the gadget on the back is that it holds the leads for you on the back. So why does this make the top of my list. While the build quality on this is probably not as good as the build quality on the Fluke, I would guess that it's probably better than the Fieldpiece. However, it has all the options that you're looking for as an HVAC technician, as well as options that you can use as an automotive technician as well. Although I will say, if you're doing automotive, the Fluke is probably your better option. But as an HVAC tech, this has everything you're going to need in a small factor that's less clumsy and easier to store. Alright, so to go over the specs of the Milwaukee 2206-20. The amp clamp is good for 200 amps. Unfortunately, the NCV, and I feel like Milwaukee kind of skipped a step here, the non-contact voltage indicator is only an indicator that there's live voltage. They could have upgraded the chip and actually measured non-contact voltage, but they decided not to, I guess, so that's unfortunate. But you do get 200 amps capable on the inductive current measuring. You get true RMS multimeter. That means it actually does the calculations of the root mean square of the sine wave of an alternating current signal. So it gives you a more accurate reading of alternating current. You get 1,000 microamps DC, so like a 1 amp capacity reading DC. Now that means you put the meter in the circuit and you can read 1 amp DC. That's kind of useless unless you're doing like control work, and even then I wouldn't recommend this one. So be that as it may. The temperature measuring, again, I've never used the meter to measure temperature. You usually have a device for that, but it will do -40 to like 700 and some degrees with the temperature measuring. I think it's a K probe, and there's an adapter for that. The voltage rating, 1000 volts AC DC. That's a 40, this doesn't really matter to you, but the way that the meters work is they use a very high resistance resistor. In this case, it's 40 million ohms. They measure the current through that resistance, and then they tell you, using the calculation, of what the potential voltage is across your leads. So that 40 million ohm resistor is what dictates how internally safe, how much amperage is actually going through your leads. So 40 million is pretty good. Audible continuity, 1000 microfarads on the capacitor. That is plenty for an entry-level multimeter. As an entry-level technician, you're not really running into anything over 1000 microfarads. When you really get into the business, you will run into over 1000 microfarads. In fact, I'm looking at capacitors right now that are over 1000, but I have other meters for that. Entry level, 1000's fine. And then it's the category 4 600 volt, category 3 1000 volt rating. So if you're going into any environments where they require a rated multimeter for safety reasons or OSHA or whatever, they got you covered. So that is the Milwaukee 2206-20. This is my #1 choice for an entry-level multimeter. So that concludes my list of entry-level multimeters. Hopefully this was helpful, and there will be a link in the description below to every single one of these multimeters for you to check out, and hey, go ahead and purchase it. If you go through the Amazon, you'll actually get a slight discount, supposedly. At least that's what I'm told. So now for the exciting news. This here Fluke multimeter, the 107. This here multimeter covers all the same basic attributes that this multimeter does. It doesn't include the amp clamp, but you can get an attachment for that if it's really important to you. It does actually come with a couple features that I'm envious of. If you want to get a magnet holder for your Fluke multimeter, they sell you a magnet kit for $50 bloody. This comes with it. I'm like, you little bastards. But anyhow, same ratings, the Cat 3 600 volt ratings, the same microfarads, 1000 microfarads, the same voltage ratings, the same 40 million ohm resistor. So all the features are pretty much the same on this. Now, this does have the extra advantage of hertz. It's really not gonna, you're really never gonna use that for your general entry-level stuff. The exciting news, I am going to be giving this away. And here's how it's going to work. I'm going to make another video, a shorts, or at least a shorter video, announcing the giveaway of this here multimeter. But the idea is, we're going to have a raffle ticket system that I'm going to create on Patreon. So go to the Patreon, the Renaissance Builder on Patreon, and there will be a raffle ticket purchasing option. Buying said raffle tickets will get you an entry to win said multimeter. So that's why I'm not taking this out of the package, because I want to give it away to one of you guys. So again, I'll come out with a video about that shortly because I have to formulate the entire system, but that's how it's going to work. And if it drives enough traction, if there's enough people that buy into the raffle system, then every month I will have something else to give away in the raffle system. Hopefully that grows enough that we can, you know, make it a thing. And I think that would be enjoyable. So anyhow, that's the exciting news. We're going to give this away. So hopefully this video helps you out. If you are a new technician, whether it be automotive or HVAC, this does lean more towards HVAC, but if you're a new technician and you're wondering, where should I put my money into a multimeter? Well, that's my list. I highly recommend the Milwaukee. The Fluke is a very good option that's going to last you for a very long time. And the Fieldpiece HS33, hey, there is nothing wrong with investing in the Fieldpiece. It's an expandable modular system. So that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully you found this helpful. Be sure to hit that bell and subscribe for the future videos, especially the video about giving this one away. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have a good night.
Bye-bye.